Hello class, this is Mr. Broussard. I'm sending you this video for the 12th week of our Composition 1 course for the fall of 2020. I hope you're all doing well. And I wanted to send this video to let you know what it is we will be dealing with as far as the work for this week. First things first, as far as actual to-do typed work, you do have a journal, and it looks like it is your last journal, Journal 11. Let me make sure I'm telling that correctly to both classes. I do believe y'all should be exactly the way it is. Yes, both classes. I have 2 Comp 1. You're all exactly the same as far as everything, but just to let you know. And you will both be completing your last journal for this course over this weekend, or starting now, from any time from now until Monday night. The 11th and final journal that you'll do for this course that you will do is due officially 2:59 a.m. on Tuesday, November the 17th. But of course, as I said before, don't lie to yourself. Get it done before you go to bed Monday night, or get it done before then. Get it any time from now until you go to sleep Monday night. And this, again, the last of the journal, so you no longer have to deal with any of these. And like I said last week, if, let's say, you like what you have so far as your journal grades, and right now you have 3 that are shaded, whichever of the 3 that is shaded that is highest would go and figure into your grade if, let's say, you were to not do this one. So make sure if you got 100, then perfect, because then don't do this 11th one and, hey, you got 100 for the journals. I think I dealt with one of y'all, just talked with one of y'all just now dealing with that. But if you don't like the 3 that are shaded, make sure you do this 11th journal and do better than any of those 3, and then that will positively affect your journal average for this course. So do it if you need to. If you don't need to, or feel like you don't need to, have the one that burn if need be. By all means, don't. Or if you just want to do it just for fun, go ahead and do that too. That's perfectly fine. But this is the last of the journals that you'll be doing for this course, and it is due Tuesday, November 17th at 2:59 a.m. So again, make sure you have it done before you go to sleep on Monday night. Now, just to let you know about this week as far as the written work is concerned, we are in the midst of the whole realm of argumentation, the argumentative essay portion of our course. And the last couple of weeks really dealt more with the philosophies behind argumentation as well as practical application within the chapters that you've gone over. Now we're dealing with the research elements of this course. And actually last week we got into it a little bit as well, or you should have. And continuing it, I gave 2 whole weeks for research simply because, if you notice, it's a overall 87 total pages of material that you need to go over. A lot of it's going to be easy for you because of stuff you've already done, or hopefully have already done. I have learned only a few years ago, this was an area of struggle because a lot of students, well, didn't do any research essays, and in many cases had not written any essays at all because the education system didn't want you writing. They wanted you to study to tests so you could pass certain standardized tests so that they get the money for you and get you out of there. Well, thanks to many universities like my alma mater and State and Southern, and this one doesn't Mississippi problem by any means, it's a nationwide problem. Enough complaints came in from the universities, and that's via complaints by a lot of the alums of these universities, including me, this one, saying these students aren't ready for the real world and the workforce, and what's going on. Why does this young new graduate have the same piece of paper I have, and yet doesn't know their head from hole in the ground when it comes to certain things, in particular how to communicate in the written form. Although Ole Miss has done a better job than most, but there still was an issue simply because if you could kind of game the system, you didn't have to learn what you needed to learn. If you could kind of know which classes to avoid, which professors to avoid. Well, that came to bite a lot of students in their rear ends when they got into the real world workforce and did not have the skills they needed, and well, they were fired within 6 months. And that piece of paper on the wall became meaningless at that point. So with all of that, that may be why you may have noticed, even in your junior high years, you weren't writing or typing enough. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, maybe 3 years ago, you started doing that. That is why, because we're correcting the issue that had come up in education. Again, this is a nationwide problem. It is a Mississippi problem, but it is a nationwide problem as well. So don't feel like it's just, another issue with Mississippi, because it's not just an issue with Mississippi. But you may have wondered, why you were doing so much more typing and writing. That is why. And so those elements were added back into the curriculum of our high schools and have been to middle schools and even elementary schools, slowly but surely. It took a while, but we finally got that take care of, because to us, the number one goal of you in that K through 12 is to get you ready for us. Yes, the general education is fine and all, but it is also to make sure you're ready for us at a community college or an Ole Miss State, Southern Miss at a university level, so that you could do the work that you needed to do. And so that's why these things came to you, including the ability to learn about research and what you need to do. Now, many of you are researchers without even realizing, in particular because you live in a world where you can easily find anything on your computers, or not even need your computers. Utilizing this, although, again, don't use this at all for anything within this course or anything within college. We've stressed that through our school, our college, but I want to reiterate: if you're doing anything through your cell phones, it's going to fail. You're going to fail because you're not going to be able to. You need to utilize your actual physical computers. But again, you can look up pretty much anything off of this and anything on your own life through a regular computer, through an iPad, through a cell phone. But now is the key about how to utilize that and do it in a more professional setting. So first things first, obviously you all know about how to do it when it comes to the setting of general internet stuff. But I will say this, as you should be well aware of, especially considering what's all going on the last, reality the last 20 years, but particularly this past year, this calendar year, don't trust everything you read on the internet. I come from a generation that was taught not to trust everything that's on the internet, and then that generation that taught us not to do that is now the one that's believing a whole bunch of bullshit. It's hilarious to think about, but also scary as well. My parents, and in many cases your grandparents, if let's be real on that. So that is why when it comes to research, my biggest advice is to make it as simple on yourself as possible. I was lucky enough to have those type of skills, which is why my college experience was a lot better than most others, because I had the ability of learning how to weed through the BS, weed through all the information that you could have, and not be overwhelmed by the information, to find the exact information that you need to find for the topic that, again, you will choose your topic. I give you that freedom and that responsibility. And so I had those skills more so than most, but you have an advantage that I didn't have. You have these databases that we have through this school, and I'll show you this right here. You might not be able to see it simply because it's going to be backwards looking for you, and I understand that, but I will take a picture of this after I get done with this video, and I will send the picture. This has all the passcodes for all the different databases and websites that we utilize through our school library. And that will allow you the access to these things and to use these for your research essays much easier. We have the ability to use the technology and the computers to find where to find the information, but then we actually had to physically go find it and actually turn pages in a book to actually find it, or in a magazine or a newspaper, or hell, we had this thing called microfiche. You don't even know about it. It's crazy machines going back into the 80s. You don't have to deal with that, and be thankful you don't. This is a lot easier on you than it was, on prior generations. But it still is something that can be, in particular, overwhelming when you have so much information that could feel like it's flooding you. And so that's why I say utilize our databases to the best of your ability, because it will make your life so much easier. And again, I'll make sure to take a picture of these things. In particular, EBSCO, Canopy, ProQuest, Scale, and Infobase. They're all able for you to use when it comes to this information. And again, my best advice is be as specific as possible. When you put in those key terms to be able to find things, you have to be as specific as possible. And if it has these Boolean operators that will allow you to eliminate the clutter, use it. You make sure to use those. So you don't want to put in a very broad topic and then come back with over 1 million articles coming back at you. You're not going to be able to weed through that. First off, and you should have been doing this anyways, that's why, there's many reasons behind the journals, one of which was to take a broad topic and narrow the focus down to something about that topic in which you would like to write about. Well, this is where it comes into play, because now, as you've had for 2 of the prior essays, and you will have for this essay, you choose your topic. But the key is to maybe start with the broad topic, but again, narrow your focus down to something about that topic in which you would like to write about. And because then once you have that, you can then be more accurate and succinct and to the point. in your Boolean searches, in your searches to find the information. And so you won't have a million different articles, even hundreds of thousands of articles, even thousands of articles. You may have it down to a point that you only maybe come back with 23 articles, and then you get a little more specific, and then it comes down to just a few articles. And then those are the articles that will help you out. Rather than feel like you're buried in information, because then you think, how am I going to read all this? You don't have to. It's even easier for you than it was for me, because you can narrow down by being honed in and focused on the topic you're dealing with and plugging that honed and focused topic in to our database. You can come down to only a specific amount of articles that you need. And even within them, you have the ability to have certain words highlighted. So where only every time that certain word is highlighted, well, then it will show up highlighted in your thing. You'll be able to just read the important parts you need. So you're not crazy about reading insane amounts of articles and having 90-something% of what you're reading have nothing to do with what you want to write about. Honed in and focused so that you are only writing about what you need. Because remember, this source information is not just to be there just because I'm saying, hey, you need source information. Yes, it is mandatory. It's mandatory from our department, from our school, and from myself. But it's not just to be in a vacuum by itself. You will still have your own arguments. It's your arguments. It's your essay, your arguments you put forth, and how you back yourself up. Yes, there will be your own thoughts and your own ideas, but then you need to back up your own thoughts and ideas with this source material. One of the biggest mistakes a lot of students make when it comes to source and research essays, they let the research, the source material, dominate the essay. That is not what we want. We don't want this whole conglomeration of a bunch of other people's ideas, and then you're not even in your own essay. That's the last thing we want. You should still be the dominant force in your essay. At least half of the material in your essay, in your research essay, should be your own thoughts and ideas. At least half. No more than half in that research essay should be this source material, or any source material that you do have there. The source material is not to dominate. The source material is there to back you up. It's your thoughts and ideas that are backed up by that source material. Yes, the source material from learned scholars, those people who are knowledgeable in the areas in which you are dealing with, not some random person. That's why, while you are good with maybe better than most finding things on the internet, you want to be very careful about what and how you find those things, because you could just randomly find some stuff and think that it's okay, and then it's from like a conspiracy theory website, or it's from some random person who decided to blog about something. That will not only not help you, will hurt you severely. It may cause you, it will cause you to earn a 0 on this essay. If you have some random person's website as a source, unless you can show me that random person happens to be a PhD in, let's say, Shakespearean literature, and you're dealing with Shakespeare, you got a 0. That is, in fact, the reason why while I give you the freedom to go through the regular internet, through the Google machine, I highly advise that all of the sources you have in this essay come from this database, or from, believe it or not, you can use these physical things called books. That's what we used to actually have to do. You have to turn pages and look through these books and find the information. It's a crazy thing. You may have actually had a book for this course. Some of you may have actually opened that book. If you can find that information there. Though when it comes to books, you always want to make sure that the last edit or revision of that actual book is from at least the last 5 years. So I would not use anything further away than 2015 if you were to actually use a physical source. Now, the great thing about the things in this database is as updated gets. And if it actually happens to be something that is incorrect, that is not on you, that is on us. Not only me personally, but it's on us for the database for not getting it corrected. And that is important because, believe it or not, the things that you knew of as true, there may be things that you knew of as true when this video began may no longer be true by the time it ends. Partially because I'm going to go long-winded probably, but mostly because things can change that quickly, or understanding a thing changes. Things do change, and they change fairly fast. We know that's just from the last couple of weeks in the news and things that have gone on. Those things can change really fast. So understand that, but also understand that if you utilize anything in the database and it happens to be incorrect simply because the information has changed, whether it be in immediacy, or let's say you did your essay early and then by the time I grade it, it's changed from there. Not a problem. Don't worry about it. You're good to go still because it was at least accurate or professed to be accurate the moment you actually put it forth if you utilize our database. Again, if some random person's blog or random internet thing, if you can't prove that, and by the way, when you use the internet, it's up to you to prove that the person is learned in the area in which you're dealing with and that they have never had any issues with academic integrity. Whereas the database has done that for you. We've done those parts for you. So again, to make your life as easy as possible, utilize our database through the library of this school. You can physically go to the library if you want, but I'm pretty sure that one of the main reasons most of you took an online course is so that you wouldn't have to physically be here, and I understand that. Some of you maybe just simple convenience, but particularly with the pandemic, it's maybe more important that you utilize the database, which is your ability to do. But yeah, make sure if you do decide to go through regular, it's up to you to make sure that information is as accurate as possible and from someone who's knowledgeable in the area in which you're dealing with. And that is also key. Someone can be a PhD, but if that person is a PhD in Shakespearean literature and your essay is on metaphysics, it's not going to help you. So just make sure the person is learned in the areas which you're dealing with, and yes, have never had an issue with academic integrity. That's another area. We may have some people that have those academic integrity things. That's on us, not on y'all. Certain people, unfortunately, are famous for being famous, and even though they've had academic integrity problems, they're still considered famous because they think the right things. We try to wash that all out, make sure those people are in there, but if the case they are, that's not on you. That's on us and for society for not being on the up and up like it should be. But yes, to the ability to do that research, to find that research, to make it simple on yourself as possible. It's going to make your life easier and not freak you out. This is the area in which freaks students out more than anything else. It's again, I tell you, it's the overwhelming nature of all of that information. But you can make your life a lot easier by making sure you're as narrowly and honed in as focused as you can be when you do your searches. I would advise only using our database, so you have the freedom again to do physical sourcing and also utilize the internet. But again, with the internet, it is up to you to make sure that all the things that are checked. And if it is not, you have a 0, and there's no way around that. So make sure you do the things that need to be done when it comes to that research and figuring those things out. But yeah, that is what we will be dealing with as far as what you're reading. And like I said before, I've kind of already given you a heads up on some of these things as well. But if you want to have complete order, obviously we've had argumentation and learning about that, utilization of research and how to find and how to properly source and cite. That's the last little bit of all the things we'll be dealing with. And a reminder that for just this argumentative essay only, you'll be dealing with the APA style, American Psychological Association style. So if you want to go ahead and get a heads up on that, read chapter 29, pages 618 to 661. You'll notice some drastic differences between the two. In MLA, you had a header, page header, title as your starting point. In APA, you will have a cover page. In APA, you have, when it comes to the research and how you put it forth, you'll have it be called a reference page, and there'll be some similarities to MLA, but there'll definitely be some differences. And then in MLA, it's called a works cited page, and you'll have those differences there. In APA, you'll have what's called an abstract, which is basically you take the entire essay you've just written and summarize it in 150 to 250 words. And that'll actually be the very second thing you have on there, where you wouldn't have that on an MLA style. So again, notable similarities, notable differences. You'll have headings and subheadings on APA, which you would not have on MLA. So we'll learn more about that as it goes along. But if you want to get a heads up on it, go ahead and read chapter 23. And again, those three things working in concert will be what you deal with when you come to your argumentative essay. That will be at least 1,300 words. And that, by the way, includes your APA sourcing and citing and anything else that comes with it. So your abstract is included. So the abstract, the cover page, the abstract, the actual essay itself, any sourcing and citing within the essay itself, and your reference page all count towards your 1,300 words of your argumentative essay. So, don't freak out if it's not just the content itself, it's everything involved. Because in particular for this essay, that is as important. If you screw up some of those things, it could bomb the entire thing. So it is important, therefore, I feel it is important that those words count as much as the words in the content itself counts. So, but again, we still have a few more weeks to work on that. And That argumentative essay, the final copy is due Friday, December the 4th at 9:59 a.m. So basically early that morning, and then I'll get graded what needs to be graded. And then, believe it or not, that's pretty much the course with one other thing to do, and that is the final exam itself. I'll go into more detail about it on next week, simply because I want you to focus on just one thing at a time. But you will have instructions that will go out. In fact, you have the ability to look at the instructions now if you would like. The final exam itself will require a Respondus lockdown browser and webcam. So you must have the ability to have your browser lock out everything else, and you must have a webcam to use it. In general, this would be a proctored exam, the final exam. But because of everything we're dealing with COVID, and in particular, all the proctored sites were limited in the amount of actual computers that you can use because you have to have a certain amount of space between them. So basically cut the amount of spaces in half that you run into one problem, and then you had a whole lot of classes that they jumped in on those proctored exam sites as soon as possible, and they were all gone before the first week. Well, our class didn't begin until the second week, so you lose out on that ability. But that's perfectly fine because we now have the ability through the Respondus system to where you can utilize your own computer so long as you have that webcam that is needed. It is a mandatory thing, by the way. And don't have any type of blockers that would block the ability of Respondus to lock down your browser, because it has to lock it down because there's going to be certain things within the system that you must be met or else you won't be able to do it. And if you can't do it, you fail the course. So either on your own computer or on a computer that you find must have these capabilities. So make sure you look and make sure that what you have now uses and needs to be correct. And note how I said computer, not a tablet, not a cell phone, which you shouldn't have been using either to begin with. At this point, we've made it very clear not to use either of those things. I'm thinking some of you who are saying, I can't turn this thing on or that turning, you try to turn it with your phone. We've told you it's not going to work. And for some reason, you keep trying and it's not going to work. So that's on you. Must be an actual computer, must be able to have the ability to get locked down through Respondus, must have access to a webcam. Either you have one or can plug one in. These things must be met to do the final exam. If you don't find it between now and December the 4th at 10 a.m., you have failed the course. I say now, actually. Technically, this doesn't open up until November the 16th. That's why I'm not going to go over any instructions right now, because you don't even have access to it until Monday morning. But you'll be able to read those instructions, but then next week's video, I will also go over those instructions with you. So don't worry about it as far as now. But then you'll have the entire time this week, next week, and the following. So you'll have 3 weeks, somewhere in that 3-week span, for you to be able to do your final exam. It's going to be fairly simple. Truth of the matter is, considering all the other writing you've had for this course, it'll be actually really easy compared to all the other stuff. But we'll get more into those details next week. But I just want to make sure you are aware of it. So yes, your last of the journals is due Monday night. Let's say Monday night, journal entry 11. You have the argumentative rhetorical mode essay final draft will be due December the 4th at 9:59 a.m. And you will also have that final exam in the course that requires Respondus lockdown browser and a webcam. And that's to be completed no later than December the 4th at 10 a.m. So basically, the argumentative essay and the final exam are due at the same time. My advice is do one, then do the other. I would get the argumentative done first, since you can work on it now. Get everything done. You're working with these chapters now. Get all that done. I'd have that done no later than when you get back from Thanksgiving, or basically the Monday after Thanksgiving, and then you can focus that last week in the course on strictly that final exam. Get it done that week, and then you're good to go. And believe it or not, that's the course. We have a week and a half. And then there will be a week where technically the class is going on, but I won't be able to access, you won't be able to send videos or anything because I'll be on physical vacation. And then another week of the class, and that's it. Believe it or not, it moves that fast. Sorry this video lasted so long, but I did have all this information I wanted to make sure I got to you. In particular, just to ease your mind about research. It's not, don't freak out about it. It can make your life can be, in fact, your life made so much easier by knowing how to properly do research, so you don't feel like you're just wasting a vast amount of time. So listen to what I've said, make sure to read the chapters, and if you have any questions about it, make sure to send me an email. Hope you're all well, and I will send you another video next week. And immediately after this video, I will take a picture of these passcodes so that you can see it the right way. Talk to you later.